a man killed 99 people. Then he killed one more. Then he stood up, walked into the desert and asked God for forgiveness. And God said yes. Is there a point where forgiveness ends? Is there a line, a number, a crime so large that even mercy cannot reach it? Or is the door always open no matter what is behind you? This is the story of a man who found out. No one remembered when it started. That was the thing about him. There was no single moment that everyone could point to and say there, that is where it began. No dramatic origin. No night that changed everything. Just a slow accumulation of choices, each one darker than the last, each one making the next one slightly easier, the way a path worn into the earth gets deeper with every foot that treads it until eventually it becomes a trench you cannot climb out of. He had killed for the first time when he was young. There had been a reason. There is always a reason the first time. Anger, perhaps. Or fear. Or the particular kind of pride that young men carry like a weapon before they learn what weapons actually cost. Whatever it was, it had felt in the moment like something that had no alternative. Like the only possible response to whatever had been done to him or said to him or taken from him. Then he had done it again. And again. And somewhere around the 5th or 6th time, the reasons had started to blur. By the 10th, he had stopped needing reasons entirely. By the 20th, he had stopped counting. Until one night, for no reason he could explain, he started counting again. He sat alone in the dark and counted. The number he reached was 99. 99 lives. 99 families somewhere in the world who had a hole in them the shape of a person who was not coming back. 99 last moments that he had caused. 99 faces, some of which he remembered clearly, some of which had already faded, all of which were gone. He sat with that number for a long time. And then from somewhere deep inside him, from a place he had not visited in years, from a part of himself that he had assumed was long dead, a question surfaced. Quiet at first. Then impossible to ignore. Is there any way back? He had heard of a monk. A man who lived alone at the edge of the settlement, known for his worship, his solitude, his hours spent in prayer. A man who had given his entire life to God. If anyone could answer a question about the limits of forgiveness, surely it would be someone like that. Someone who had spent decades studying the distance between sin and mercy. He found the monk in his small dwelling at the edge of the desert. The monk looked up when he entered, and immediately knew that whatever this man had come for, it was not small. The killer sat down across from him. He did not introduce himself. He did not explain himself. He simply said the thing he had come to say. I have killed 99 people. His voice was flat, not proud. The pride had drained out of that number somewhere around the 40th. Not ashamed. Shame requires an audience you care about, and he had stopped caring about audiences long ago. Just flat. Like a man reading a number from a ledger. Is there any chance, he said, that I can be forgiven? The monk stared at him. The silence stretched. 99. The number hung in the air of the small room like smoke. The monk turned it over in his mind, tried to find some angle from which it looked manageable, some framework in which it became answerable. He thought of prayers. He thought of penance. He thought of every story of forgiveness he had ever heard or read or been told. None of them had a number like this in them. None of them had prepared him for a face like this across from him. And so he said the only thing that his fear allowed him to say. No. The word came out quietly, almost gently, as if the softness of the delivery could cushion the weight of what it meant. There is no forgiveness for what you have done. The room was completely silent. The killer looked at the monk for a long moment. Something shifted in his eyes, not anger, exactly. Something older than anger. Something that looked like a door closing. Like a man who had walked a very long distance toward a light and arrived to find it extinguished. He had come with a question. He had received an answer. And the answer had taken the last small thing inside him and crushed it. He stood up. And the monk who had spent his entire life studying mercy became the 100th name on a list he had never asked to be on. The number was now 100. He stood in the silence after. And the question was still there. That was the thing that surprised even him, that after everything, after the monk, after 100, the question had not gone away. It should have. By any reasonable accounting, a man who kills the person he went to for spiritual guidance has answered his own question. Has chosen his own answer. But it was still there. Is there any way back? He did not understand why he could not let it go. He only knew that he couldn't. Someone told him about a scholar. Not a monk, not a man of isolated worship and solitude, but a man of knowledge. A man who had spent his life not just in prayer but in understanding. Who knew the texts, the traditions, the long history of what God had and had not said about the limits of mercy. He walked to where the scholar lived. He sat down in front of him. And he said the same words. I have killed 100 people. This time there was no flinching. The scholar looked at him, not at the number, not at the violence behind it, but at the face of the man sitting in front of him. At the question underneath the question. At the thing that had driven a man who had killed 100 people to keep walking, keep searching, keep asking. He saw something there. Something small and battered and stubborn. Something that had survived everything, who, the scholar said slowly, could stand between you and the mercy of God. The killer said nothing. No one, the scholar continued. No monk. No scholar. No sin. No number. He leaned forward slightly. Mercy belongs to God, not to us. And God does not need our permission to give it. The man across from him had not moved, had not breathed, it seemed. But you cannot stay here, the scholar said. The place that made you what you are, leave it. There is a town, far from here, where people live differently. Go there. Live among them. Start from the ground up. Leave everything behind except the question that brought you to me. He paused. That question, he said quietly, is the most important thing you own. The man left before dawn. He walked into the desert as the sky went from black to the deep blue that comes just before light, and he walked without stopping, without looking back, without allowing himself to think too far ahead, because ahead was uncertain and behind was everything he was trying to leave. The desert was vast and empty and completely indifferent to his history. It did not know what he had done. The sand did not recoil from his footsteps. The wind did not change direction when it reached him. He was just a man walking. For the first time in a very long time, just a man. Not a killer. Not a number. Just a man in a desert, moving towards something he could not yet see, away from something he could not yet fully leave. He walked through the heat of the day. He walked as the sun dropped toward the horizon and the sand turned orange and then red and then the particular purple-gray of desert dusk. He walked into the night. He never arrived. Somewhere in the middle, in that vast unmarked space between the life he was leaving and the life he was walking toward, his body gave out. Not dramatically. Not the way stories usually end. He simply slowed. Then stopped. Then sat down in the sand because standing had become something his legs could no longer negotiate. He looked at the sky above him. Stars. Countless and cold and completely indifferent, the way stars are. He thought perhaps of the scholar's words. Who could stand between you and the mercy of God? And then he was gone. The angels arrived. 2 groups of them standing over the body of a man who had taken 100 lives and died alone in the desert between repentance and the past. The angels of punishment spoke first. 100 lives, they said. He is ours. The angels of mercy did not argue with the number. He was walking, they said instead. Look at the direction he was facing. Look at what he left behind. Look at what he was moving toward. He did not arrive. He was walking. The disagreement rose until a judgment was required. And God commanded something simple. Measure the distance. The earth between the man's body and the city of sin, and the earth between his body and the city of repentance. The angels measured, and they found something. He was closer to where he was going than to where he had been. By the length of a single human stride. Perhaps less. He had not arrived. He had not completed the journey. He had not knelt in the streets of the new city and wept and begun the long slow work of becoming something different. He had only walked. Only pointed himself in a direction and moved. Only taken the step. And it was enough. The angels of mercy took his soul. The desert does not keep records. The sand he walked on has shifted 1,000 times since that night. His name was never written anywhere. But the story of what happened to him has been told for over 1,000 years. Because it contains something that human beings cannot stop needing to hear. That the step matters. Not the arrival. Not the perfection of the journey. Just the step. Just the turning. Just the facing of a different direction. He killed 100 people. He never arrived at the place he was walking to. He died alone in the desert with nothing completed and nothing resolved. And he was forgiven. The question is, if mercy could reach that far, what are you still convinced is too broken to be forgiven? Tell us in the comments.